So today we're going to discuss silent treatment. Silent treatment is known as stonewalling, ignoring, and just basically, punishing a person for a fight or disagreement. Something that is common with like passive aggressive people. Instead of, say, communicating, through healthy means, people like to use stonewalling as a way to let people know that they're unhappy with the outcome of a situation where there's an argument or you just didn't like something that somebody said. So then people just start to ignore each other. But what they think is when they're ignoring somebody that they're punishing them, but at the same time they're actually inflicting physical pain. Because there's studies that have shown that the cortex of the brain experiences like some type of trauma, like you're getting hit. It's painful because you know that a person that you care about or you love or you have feelings for is ignoring you. And it makes it look like that you're non-existent, like you're nothing to them. And the longer they ignore you, the more pain that you experience, like where it becomes like emotional. And there are ways to overcome silent treatment, but I believe that people that use it know what they're doing and they know they're hurting that person for hurting them. They believe that that person deserves to be punished in a way of, if they ignore them, then eventually they know that next time that person will not do it because they're going to be reminded of how they felt with the silent treatment. When they say stonewalling, it means like you're pretty much like there's a barrier between you, like there's no communication in those moments. And I believe that it's better to use healthy communication, like to practice healthy communication, like where you talk out your problems. If you have conflict, then resolve it. Don't get into a process of like where you ignore people. Because one time I was driving Uber, and one guy said that he hasn't talked to his mom in 3 years. And both of them are like passive aggressive. And then I said, "Are you okay with that?" And he says that, "Sure, and I said, "Well, how long you think it could go on for?" And he says, "Until we get into our graves." So essentially what he's saying is that she taught me, he says mom taught him, and that it's been over 3 years and they can continue on by ignoring each other, by the silent treatment. It's just that when we see silent treatment, we're surrounded by it. Like, people do it, and we know about it. And it's like the worst way to communicate, especially with people that really respect and value each other. It's that one person knows that the other person is doing it, and that person knows that they're doing it to the person that they want to make a point. It's almost like they're trying to teach them a lesson, like, don't do these things. I'm going to make you remember what you did, and I'm going to use silent treatment on you. And sometimes they learn it for somebody else, and they don't even realize that they are doing it until somebody else points it out one day that they're doing it. And then they finally realize that they are doing it. And it's like not the, I say like, it's just not really healthy and positive. It's not respectful to do silent treatment. So if you do it, try to work out a way to not do it. Like, work on yourself. If you feel like that could be a weakness, that you do it like you want to put up a barrier and just you think it's better. Because sometimes arguing and having conflict is better, and then you can resolve it at that moment. Like more kind of like mediation, in a way of like, okay, how are we going to work on our problems or our recurring conflict, and why do these certain issues come up? Instead of each time when you get into like a challenge that you use silent treatment as a way to make a point, to say, okay, if you do these things again, I'm gonna remind you with the silent treatment. So I feel that silent treatment is almost like it's more lethal than putting someone down or insulting somebody or being critical or just really even bullying somebody. I just feel like that it's just like isolating someone. When you're someone's in jail and they put them in like solitary confinement, it's like that nobody's around them and they're letting them know that you are going to be alone. And sometimes people think that being alone is not that bad until they are actually alone. And they're alone with their thoughts, with nobody else around. It's quiet. It's almost like that type of feeling when you are getting silent treatment. And it's one area in relationships that it starts to really deteriorate relationships, like to dissolve them, because sometimes people do it for years and they get used to it until somebody else points it out and say, that's silent treatment. It's almost like maybe they knew it or maybe they didn't. And if you currently do this, like don't like allow it to persist for years, like because that if you continue to follow that path of ignoring people or slash stonewalling slash silent treatment, then eventually you're gonna hurt every person around you that cares about you. Because when you like freeze up and you say, okay, I'm not talking to anyone, or I'm not talking to that person because they did this and I didn't like it, it's just not a good way. Because it's like like when parents ignore their children because they did something that could be very detrimental to the kid. Because there's like these things that create like anxiety, it could create emotional pain, it could make make you feel sad, upset, angry. But if you want to know how to deal with silent treatment, just keep yourself busy and just know that it's not your fault, that the person is choosing to do this, and that your value is still up high. Like that you still can value yourself, respect yourself, and love yourself, and that silent treatment is not going to change the way that you appear to others. If a person chooses to do it and you reach out, just don't go back and take that things that you said. If you said something and you mean it, then stick to it. Because if you wrote something or you said something and you feel that it was necessary to say it, then stick to it. Because you won't be like a weak worm by saying, I take back everything I said. I sent you that message. Like, I wish you could just disregard it. Like, I wish I never sent it. If you sent it, then stand by your word. Stand by what you said. That you meant to say it. And if you made a mistake, then apologize. But if you feel like that it's the truth, and maybe it's a little bit too harsh, then discuss why you said it and why it was necessary. Or maybe you reached a point where you needed to say something. And it's important that you communicate this. That if you just take back everything each time, you say, I'm sorry, and you get emotional, and I'll never do it again. And each time you just keep repeating these actions over and over again. And then you continue to ask for forgiveness. Then that could create a problem like where the person wants to do the silent treatment. But what if they're not able to do silent treatment to some people? Because some people are just really overbearing, and that they're very, they overstep their boundaries. And they put you in situations where you can't breathe. Then that's impossible, like in a way, to ignore that person, because that person won't take no. Like they'll keep advancing. For every no, they move forward to a yes. They say yes, you say no, they say yes, and then eventually there's conflict. Or you could have the thing where that one person that realizes, okay, you're giving me silent treatment. And I know that you're giving me silent treatment. And I know that I made a mistake. And I'm going to apologize to you. And I'm going to say I feel bad. But I'm not going to bend over backwards. I'm not going to get on my knees. I'm not going to do anything you want because I made this mistake. I made this mistake, and I realize you're doing silent treatment, and that's your way of dealing with this conflict. But I want to have healthy communication. If you communicate this, then eventually you could break that cycle of silent treatment. Because silent treatment is the worst psychological tool. It's almost like this method of attacking someone that you care about without words, and that is hurtful. And if you feel like that you do this and you don't realize it, then just know that, imagine if it has happened to you, that someone that you cared about and you loved and you respected and you valued ignored you for like 3 weeks, 2 weeks, and it didn't even look like you existed. Like you didn't even matter. And you felt like you had this strong emotional connection, and then all of a sudden, like, you don't matter for those moments. That could hurt somebody. But if you have like really good confidence, like say high confidence, and you have high self-esteem, and that you don't feel like that you need that person. You want the person. you desire them, but you don't need them. And when we lose that need, we lose those expectations, and we just do things to really to be there for someone, then if they do silent treatment on us, then we could continue to do the things that we love. We continue to live our life. We continue to grow. We continue to work. We still continue our life without worrying whether this person is going to talk to us or not. And I feel like that if you do silent treatment, then, and you do it, say, deliberately to hurt someone, then that's like, that's just not the best way, because then you're pretty much making it okay that, okay, this person made you feel bad. They said the wrong things. They pushed you. But at the same time, if you go back with silent treatment, then you're doing the same exact thing as they did. But maybe they realized that something bothered you, and they said something to you that now they learned their lesson. But at the same time, if you do silent treatment each time, then you're continuing to do something that you're hurting them. So in a way, you're doing the same thing. So maybe they're trying to learn about you. So they make the mistakes, because we all make mistakes. We're all imperfect human beings. And that we are going to make mistakes, and we're going to learn from them. But sometimes some people are not as forgiving. And if you're not forgiving, especially in friendships, relationships, and, you know, as coworkers or just really family members, if you're not as forgiving, then that's when the conflict starts. So if you notice that people around you are ignoring somebody because they're like, oh, like those two got in a fight and they're not talking to each other, then that's pretty much silent treatment. Because like, who's going to break it? Somebody's going to break it. Like whether they both go on forever, or eventually they're going to start talking again, or somebody's going to have to talk, and there has to be some type of compromise or some type of communication to resolve the conflict that started the silent treatment. So if you want to look up silent treatment, you could Google it and you can learn more about it. And it's something that I would like to discuss in the future, because it's more of like, in a way, sabotaging relationships when you do that. Because sometimes people are used to it because they don't realize, like, they don't value themselves and they don't respect themselves enough to fight against this silent treatment. But when they start to grow and they start to get stronger, then they realize that they don't deserve this silent treatment anymore, and that they deserve better, and they're going to realize they deserve better, and they're going to start doubting things, and they're going to start trusting more that all those years that they were getting silent treatment was, in a way, abusive, and it was punishing them. And it wasn't a way of saying, if this is like, oh, it always happens this way. It's not right. It's not right for it to always happen this way, because you deserve better. And realize that people that do silent treatment on you and they refuse to change the way they act towards you, that pattern of behavior will ultimately dissolve relationships. So work on better ways to communicate with one another, so you don't get into these situations where you continue to repeat actions that disrespect and devalue someone that you care about, or who cares about you. So thank you for watching, and we're going to discuss other, say, negative things like self-sabotage and things that we do to ourselves, and how some people can sabotage us. And definitely look forward to discussing things that I feel that there are things that we need to resolve in the near future, because otherwise we're not going to allow ourselves to grow.